All right, we got another episode now. We continue with the government officials because it's election season.
But this is not electoral.
This is not electoral.
This is government officials, but in a good way.
In a good way.
There's a good way.
So we have
This
Gabby,
is not about taxes.
the PI from Animal Services, and Annette, the Director of Animal Services, here today.
Good morning.
You know, the whole Gabby of PI worries me a little bit. You know, it scares me.
PIO.
Oh, it's PI.
But I guess I was a
scares
PI
me.
before too, so
It scares me. But welcome to a day in Miami. I think it's going to be a great program because I think we have a lot of questions. We have a lot of questions coming up. I have a lot of questions regarding animal services.
Yep.
And go ahead.
Go ahead, to start off.
Yeah.
Explain who you guys
That's
are,
exactly
a
what
little
I'm
bit about your history, each of you.
So I'm Annette Jose. I'm the Director of Animal Services. I have been in this position for almost a year. I was appointed last October to this position. And prior to that, I was in child welfare for about 5 years. And then prior to that, I worked at a mortgage banking firm just down the street at Bayview Financial. That's where I started my career after I got an MBA.
Wow, what a change.
So, yeah.
Being a child services
to
this.
Animal Services.
Yes.
So it's it's been exciting.
You know, I mean, I would think, I mean, when you went down to the sense of, I mean, child services must be a tough gig.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know if I could really, deal in the child services situation because that's a tough one.
day,
that's a tough one. But getting back to this, so when you were appointed, was there something that you looked into the sense that you said, I love the fact that I want to now pursue this area and I mean, because people don't really understand the world of animal services. I mean, I know a little bit because again, I always tell my background when I worked in the county. It's a tough position, and it's a lot of good and bad with that position. You know what I'm saying? So if you want to elaborate a little bit on that.
There's a lot of scrutiny that comes in this position, and every day you're trying to do your best job possible, but someone out there always has an eye, and they do it with good intentions. I think it's really good to have very passionate advocates to be part of this organization and this mission, and it makes you raise the bar at what you're doing. But some days it is a little tough on the spirit, I will admit.
Yeah. Do you go to every shelter every day, or how's your typical day to day?
My typical day is there at the shelter, and I think as a leader, you have to be very connected to your staff. So I do try to walk the shelter every single day. Yesterday, I didn't get to do that because I had meetings back to back up in my office. But I think it's important to see, for the staff to see that you are committed to the mission. And that's why you raise the bar and have such high expectations of them.
Yeah. So this question is for both of you or whatever. So everybody's, imaginations, everybody's thoughts when they're animal services, you call it, you think it's like the bad guys of animals. But I really want, all of our viewers to understand what is it that you guys do the day to day. I know you're going over there as Eddie asked, but explain to the people, animal service is not a place just to euthanize dogs or just, I believe you got to pick up dogs. I think a lot of people have a very misconception of what animal services is. And I think it's a great way that you guys explain all the good animal services does for Dade County.
So it's no longer the pound, right?
Correct.
It is no longer your local pound. It used to be under police many years ago. And now Animal Services is its own department. And under Mayor Levine Cava's portfolio, it's actually part of the services portfolio. Okay. So we're there with the housing and human services.
Makes sense.
Right. Yeah. We're a service provider. So Gabby can tell you more about how we've shifted from being just out there in the street being enforcement and citations, but really we want to be a resource for the community to let them know they can come to us if they need help with their pet.
So I think there's been a big shift in as far as like, oh, they're known as the dog catchers. Like,
right.
For instance,
that's exactly what I was. Yeah.
My background is in that. When I graduated from FIU, I studied criminal justice because I wanted to do enforcement and I wanted to help animals in that sense because I've always loved animals. So I started off as an animal control officer and they renamed them to animal welfare officer because that's exactly what we're doing. We're out in the community. We're checking on the welfare of animals. But I noticed a lot in that job when I did that role, it's more about educating the public about what we do and what we offer and how we can help them, especially when it comes to their animals. Like, we're not there to take your dog. And I think that's what people assume. Like, we have 600 dogs. We're not there to just pick up every dog. We really don't want any more.
So there's 600 dogs right near an animal service.
Yes. At any time, for the most part, there's over 600 dogs at our shelter.
Yeah.
So
I had a question about that. Like, obviously, I have a dog. I love my dog. And I cannot envision just giving it up or something happening to it. Like, what do you see are the typical reasons why a dog may end up at a shelter?
Well, I think the number one reason is they're lost. They're lost and they're not microchipped. Wow. So we are unable to reunite them with their owners. And also, coming from this multinational county, many people come from countries that don't have shelters. So they don't even realize, hey, there's a shelter that you could go to look for your dog. They lose their dog if they live in Homestead or the Redlands. And they just think, well, that's it. They don't realize, hey, go to Doral. There's an animal shelter there that can possibly be housing your dog.
You know, that really behooves me because, I mean, I've had animals all my life. And the first thing that everybody would do the first thing that I know that anybody would have a dog lost is go call animal shelter. I mean, if you don't have the microchip, you would call and I know animal services will even help you and say, give me the name, the breed, or whatever. You guys be tracking that when they would walk in or if somebody would bring them in.
But do you think that it's like a lack of marketing on your guys' end, like to letting people know that there is a shelter? Because I think everybody knows there's a shelter. But
apparently with this, I know.
I actually don't think that people understand that. Even from marketing, like, again, when I was out in the field, people don't know that we exist as an entity. Right. And I even think it starts before that like she mentioned, there's people coming from all these countries that don't have these animal laws in place. They don't even know that you can't let your dog go outside on its own, especially out in the communities, out in the Redlands. When I would patrol those areas and do enforcement in those areas, I would find a stray dog, and somehow, some way, the dog may have been wearing a collar. Okay, go find the owner, knock on the door. Hey, your dog is outside. She's like, oh yeah, I let him out on purpose. And it's like, no, your dog needs to be on a leash. And I think it's just
they try to let him roam around.
Right. Like, oh, he's doing his business. He's just going to go outside and do his business. He always comes back. Well, no, that's not the case here in Miami-Dade County. You have to walk your dog on a leash. The only place that your dog can be off leash is either at a dog park or in your own property.
Absolutely.
So I think it starts from that. Like, even not just that we don't like people. There are some people that know that we exist, but there are some people that don't even know about the laws in place. So if they lose their dog, they're just like, oh, my dog went out on a walk.
No, it makes sense to your point that how these people. I mean, I guess this is the educational side, part.
Yeah. This helps a lot.
That people really need to understand a little bit better.
So number one is they're lost. Number two, what would you say?
Number two, we think that inflation and the housing crisis has had an impact. People are having to downsize to smaller condos or communities where maybe they have restrictions on what size dog you can have. Many restrictions are, it has to be under 25 pounds. That's a small dog.
Yeah, it's a small dog.
Most of our dogs are between 45 and 65 pounds.
Really small dog.
That's a small dog.
And I feel that sometimes people are a little bit irresponsible because I always say it's a big responsibility when you want to take over a dog. A dog is a child. For me, it's another person.
It's in your community.
And then all these people, they get hyped because of the kids. Oh, let's get the dog. And then all of a sudden, when parents of the kids don't, look at the dog anymore, some of the parents, to your point, se abrió la puerta, the door opened, bye. I mean, it's crazy, and they don't take care of the animals, So I always say, when you're going to do that, be responsible of what you're really going to do about that.
Right. It can't be you walk in, you see a cute dog, and you just decide at that moment. It has to be something that you really 100%. Gave a lot of consideration to And then, we talk about responsible pet ownership. We all have a part in that. You microchip your pet, have your pet spayed or neutered, make sure their vaccines are up to date. Those are all things that we as a community should do to improve the welfare.
On that point you just said, is there services that you guys can help folks that, let's say, have an animal, but they don't have the money?
Absolutely.
To say, do this, do that, like people can go into you guys?
We provide low-cost spay neuter. We provide low-cost vaccines. Additionally, we have a mobile wellness unit that we send into the community. So we go into low they call it veterinary deserts, where there's a lack of veterinarians or a lack of access for that community. Right now, it's in Hialeah, and they provide vaccines and microchips and just basic wellness for dogs, and that has been very successful. It was donated to us by an organization called FOMA several years ago, and it's been great.
Is there do you guys advertise that, or should people, you want to give out a website or a phone number where people can go ahead and call and see when you guys are going to have that? Is that mobile year round?
Yeah, so that mobile unit moves around from location to location. It usually stays in one area for about 3 months, and then we move it to a different area. But aside from that mobile unit alone, we also host events all the time for either free sterilization, free vaccines, free microchipping. So we offer all this to our community, especially a lot of our community in the South, because, Homestead, Cutler Bay, those areas can feel very far away from Doral. So we actually have our community cat center down in Cutler Bay, where I think once or twice a month at least, we host twice a month we host a large spay neuter event down there too. And we usually advertise this on our social pages. You can follow our pages at Adopt Miami Pets, or you can check our website by visiting miamidade.gov/animals.
That's important.
And it's free, by the way. Those spay and neuter services are free.
That's what I'm saying. It costs money. And some people adopt a dog or something. They say, I don't have the money now to do all the services for the dog.
And then third reason you think dogs end up in the shelters?
It's also has to do with the veterinary costs. So cost of care has gone up. If you go just for a regular wellness visit to your vet, just to get vaccines, it could cost $200. Not everybody has that kind of income that they could just put towards a pet. So that's why we provide these low-cost services. And
so they come and give it up for adoption. Because
they come and surrender it because,
I was going to ask that too. Do most people come and surrender the dog, or do you guys find the dogs in the streets? What is the typical scenario?
What's a percentage rate more or less on that?
Yeah, so we mostly, at this point, if someone's coming to surrender their pet, we're asking why. And we have pet retention services available. What that means is if someone says, well, he has this mass on its back and I just can't afford the surgery, we will try everything we can to pay for that surgery or have connect them with a way of getting that service. We also, if they say they can't afford food, those kinds of things, we will provide food, we'll provide litter.
That's a huge
right
thing.
It's called pet retention, and we will provide as much as we can. Also, if they're moving into a new apartment, maybe they have to put a deposit. Again, we don't want things like that to separate pets and their owners. So we're going to increase our pet retention services as much as possible year after year to help families stay with their pets.
But do you ever find them on the, what's the percentage of you getting them on the streets or people coming in to surrender? If there's 600 dogs,
they're mostly coming in as a stray.
They're mostly coming in.
Are they? They're getting picked up by animal services around the streets.
So we still have our enforcement team that patrols daily. It's a 24/7 operation. So even overnight, there's still people that work overnight that are on standby per se. So they'll get a call, usually through police. Citizens will find a dog and call police, and then police usually contacts us, and then we end up picking.
Which I'm sure all those strays are, again, dogs that lost the house or
purposely left out.
Left the thing. That's why I say comes down to the responsibility of getting an animal, and then some people just get the animal and just they get that. Said to your point, I can't cost this, food. And then if he's allergic to this food, you're not going to buy that allergic
food,
medication. I mean, that's why it's a responsibility. So I really think it comes down to
but I do want
to follow up to that question, though. Is there an area in the city that you guys know that you get more pickups from? Like, can you say, like, hey, if people are highly, I really take care of dogs? Is it like an area that you know?
That's him, not me.
I think the Redlands is a big area.
Oh, wow.
Like my own dog was picked up in the Redlands. So there's a lot of dogs out in those farms, I guess, they may be farm dogs. Like people have dogs on the farm, but again, they're just in and out. And then a lot of people know that is not a very like area that's heavily populated. So if somebody feels sometimes like they can't, afford their dog, like there obviously are stories that people say somebody will pick them up or they go and drop them off over there.
Or they just get picked up by accident. But I do want to let everyone know that the shelter is not the best place. It should be your last resort for a dog. So whether you have to surrender or if you find a dog in your neighborhood, the best thing you could do is hold on to that dog for a few days because the most likely that dog is just a few blocks away from its home. So walk the dog in the neighborhood, ask people, have you seen this dog? Post it on Nextdoor, post it on Ring.
Very good for that.
Ring is really, Nextdoor is just great at connecting people with their pets. But
we have a service around my area, which is a lot of neighbors, and every time there's just one animal everybody just posts a dog. We saw a dog, and I think to your point, it's great because they'll grab it, they'll hold it, and you see it like no more than in a day, or by the end of the day, somebody goes, "Oh, that's so and so. Oh my God, the gardener left the door open."
Exactly.
But
if you take it all the way to Doral, then it becomes very difficult for people to, like we said, some people don't even think of it. Others, it's many miles away. They don't have access to get to the shelter. So best thing you can do is promote that dog, put flyers up within your area and help them find their owner.
I think the best one is really the chip. Yep. I always say the chip and your collar with your little sign, I'm the owner of, here's my phone number.
Yep.
I mean, that's the first thing everybody
It's actually a requirement that dogs wear their county tag.
Right, because it has their license.
Right, the license. Like it is a requirement, and that's another thing that people are uneducated about. They don't think that they have to wear it. Like, oh yeah, she has this collar, has his vaccines. They show me proof of vaccines, but they're not wearing their collar. It's like, your pet has to wear the collar. It is part of the ordinance. It has to be wearing the collar at least. But microchipping is way better because that's something permanent on the dog.
Doesn't it work the way that you can go to more or less any veterinarian and they should go ahead and it's a service that they can provide? Hi, I found this dog.
And many of your local municipal police departments will have a microchip scanner as well.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah. Okay. So there's lots of ways that you can
get the microchip.
Microchip. Yeah.
What other question we have there from our?
Yeah. So this is one of probably the more interesting ones that we spoke about a little bit earlier, but we have all seen these videos online of the shelter AC has broken, or there's no air conditioning in the shelter. So, and the activists, go out and say, or everybody's going out and support and saying, go adopt dogs. It's a two-part question. Does the shelter's AC break, or how does that work out? And do people actually go and adopt dogs when these videos are going viral?
So we have now two shelters. We have the old shelter, which is at Medley, which was built as an open air facility. It was not intended to have air conditioning, so the air conditioning didn't break. There's just no air conditioning. That sounds really awful now in the summer in Miami, right? But we have fans. We have industrial-sized fans donated by big-ass fans with cooling mechanisms, which makes it comfortable. We have staff that's there all day long working in that environment as well to take care of the dogs. And we try to do our best to take them out to pools and keep them cool. But if it wasn't for that resource, then Miami-Dade County would be in a difficult position because the Doral shelter was only built to house 350 dogs. So with today's population of 600 dogs, we're lucky we have that resource to provide shelter for the overcapacity issues that we have. Now, the community did really speak out and say, you know what, those dogs aren't being seen. What is Animal Services going to do about it? And so the mayor was very adamant that we should be open every weekend to the public, and that's what we did. Unfortunately, it didn't result in an increase in adoptions. We opened at the beginning of July every weekend at Medley.
Right.
We've had 4 adoptions at Medley.
Wow. No way.
No so how can we, how can we promote, I guess, the fact of, and, go and adopt? I mean, I know there's a whole thing of either adopt or you buy, which is really, I think it's nonsense, because if you were looking for a particular animal that you want, I think you should have the choice, like, anybody does, of a choice for this. If you want a car, you want this, you have your choices. But I do believe the sense of some people, the ones that cannot afford a dog that they have the opportunity to go and adopt. How can we promote that adoption thing more for people to come in and see them?
Yeah, and you bring up a good point. I think in all child welfare, animal welfare, we have to remove judgment. We're so quick to judge people. Oh, they can't keep their animal, or they are not. Oh, they have their dog in the backyard. Well, let's not judge. Let's just try to come together, understand, and help these dogs that are at the shelter is my primary concern, right? So what do? We have these large events. We have Clear the Shelters starting tomorrow. That's promoted by Telemundo and NBC6. It's a national campaign. And that's what we ask people when we reach out to people and say, please, we have 600 dogs. Help us take one of these dogs home. You're saving a life. So if, you're looking for a way to give back, this is a way to give back. It's not just about having a dog. You're actually saving a life here.
Yeah. And how do you feel about the activists that lean more towards the adopt, don't shop movement? Like, how do you guys feel about that?
I think there's space for everyone in this conversation and in this mission. So if Puppy Stores, their mission is to have families connect with the puppies that they want, that's their mission, and there's room for it. But here, the activists that are associated with Animal Services, they help us keep our eye on what the goal is, which is quality care for every dog, which is ensuring that dogs are not suffering.
I agree.
So I welcome their conversation. I hope that it's always a respectful conversation.
Listen, at the end of the day, we're not going to make everybody happy. I mean, it is what it is. That's how it is. So, I mean,
yeah, I don't know. I mean,
it's not.
It's not a one size fits all, I think. Now, the other question I had, I would like to get into like some numbers, right? Like more or less tell the viewers, right? I know how many dogs you have at any given time is 600. How many dogs are being dropped off? Are you picking up from the streets daily? And how many dogs are being more or less adopted daily?
Right. So right now we're at a managed intake, which means that we're not taking in every single dog that the community is calling us to pick up. And the reason for that is because we got to a high of 813 dogs last fall. And when you have 813 dogs, the quality of care for the dogs declines. And the health of the dogs decline because they start to have upper respiratory infection and other respiratory diseases that is very contagious. So then you end up having a very sick population. So at the beginning of the summer, we had to say, you know what, we're going to have to slow down on the amount of dogs we're bringing in to ensure the ones we have here are healthy. And so right now, if you have a healthy dog, if you see a healthy dog walking in the streets, we're asking, please help reunite that dog with their owner, or just keep an eye on the dog, but don't bring it to the shelter because we don't have the capacity. The reality is we cannot take in every single dog out there in the community. There's a limited to capacity to our resources and what we can do to ensure their health.
You know, we just recently interviewed the mayor And I think that we're going to do a follow-up.
Yeah.
Because we have so much other questions, because I'm just thinking right now out loud a little bit, or maybe take it with our Dade County commissioners, in the sense that we should push maybe all these neighborhood watches that we have.
Yeah.
Maybe those neighborhood watches should also come up with a little thing of neighborhood watch and neighborhood,
or imagine like
an animal that you can take care of within the neighborhood before taking it to the shelter.
So a little municipality, Biscayne Park up north, they actually reached out. They are fostering dogs that they find
wonderful,
and promoting it to the neighborhood through the email, through the municipal email. And I think that's what, maybe something we can turn to and have more municipalities engage in that kind of activity where they're helping families reunite with their pets.
I mean, it might sound crazy, but I think maybe there could be an Amber Alert for dogs, or for dogs. You send a picture of the dog out, someone's gonna say, "That's my dog."
Well, but I think to her point in the beginning, that's why all these people have the ring service and all the neighborhoods. I mean, I'm telling you, in my neighborhood, we have over 100 some people on the chat on WhatsApp, and as soon as a dog or a cat or even a parakeet, something is around the area.
I know, it's funny. They even do birds, right?
Birds. And does anybody know? Oh my God, yes, that's Roy McCall that came out of the cage. Right. I mean, I think that, to your point, a lot of the neighborhoods and areas need to get together.
Yeah. And we also, if you lose your dog, go to Miami-Dade County's website. On our website, we have a link to Petco Love Lost. Yeah. They are a great resource. They will, you upload a picture of your pet, and then it will scan all the dogs in our shelter and do a match. So it'll come up with, if awesome. It's a golden retriever, a little face recognition.
Wow. So just to be clear, you guys say that there's if you go on
my website, under miamidade.gov/animals, you have a link to Petco Love Lost, which is this huge organization owned by Petco, the pet stores. And what she was saying, it's basically like a little registry. If you lost your pet, you could find potential matches in the area in the shelter that they may have been located at. Just by the way that the pet looks and the breed. Yeah.
I'm going to tell, because we get a lot of posts of people saying, "I lost my dog."
Correct. Yeah, please post it.
Post it.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell them now. Hey,
just have a little link to that.
Well, I think that what I want to do also is, I think, and we're going to say it here, is I really want to see if a day Miami can really get together with you guys and see how we can work together, within our...
I believe we have a date. We have a date for that? That we're going to do the events.
The Hope. Yeah. Yes, the Hope.
September 15th.
Cool.
10 a.m.
So we have a mobile adoption unit that we take into the community. We love the community to invite us to their events, where we take 10 to 15 dogs, and you can adopt them right then and there.
Yeah, so we're going to do that with A Day in Miami on September 15th. We're going to do that, as Polly mentioned. They're going to have the truck there. We're going to have events, things to do for kids, and push the adoption. I was going to ask you another question that I got from the public. What are your top breeds? What are the top 5 breeds that are in the shelter at any given time?
So mostly bully breeds, and that consists of anything from an American Pit Bull Terrier to Frenchies. Frenchies are considered bullies. Anything in between. English Bulldogs, American Staffordshire Terriers, American Bullies are very popular now. But recently, we've also gotten a lot of working dogs, and working dogs are Shepherds, Belgians. We get Huskies a lot. Wow. All those breeds have been coming in a lot. And I think the majority are large dogs. And I wanted to piggyback off a question that you asked her earlier. I think people need to open their minds to owning larger dogs. I think everybody comes in with a mindset I want a puppy or I want a small dog.
Yeah.
And truthfully, maybe it's just me because I'm biased. I have a little dog and a big dog, and the big dog was adopted from the shelter. She's the second dog I adopted from the shelter. And she is so much better behaved than my little dog. And they both can, I live in an apartment. They both can adapt. And I think people are like, oh, I live in an apartment. I don't have space for a dog that big. No, they can totally work. You just need to get a dog that matches that. I wouldn't recommend a husky or a high energy working breed to be put in an apartment because they have a lot of energy. But there are some dogs at our shelter that are either older or they're just couch potatoes that just want to hang out and sit on your couch. Exactly. They don't need a lot of space. My dog is a couch potato. She goes on her 2 walks and then she comes back and she's napping on the couch the rest of the day. So I just think people need to be open to that.
And I wanted to ask another question, was euthanasia, right? So people assume that you're euthanizing hundreds or thousands of dogs a day, you know?
That's a good one.
And that is not the case, okay? I know that there was a Save Charlie ordinance that was passed by the county. I want you to talk a little bit about that and give us a little history and fact check people out there that they think what you guys are doing is, you know, just killing dogs all day long.
Well, what I'd like to point out is that people that work at the shelter have dedicated their careers to working with animals. Our veterinarians, not only did they go to vet school and dedicate their career to that, but they're working shelter medicine, which is so much harder than working private practice. And our veterinarians have been with us for almost a decade, most of them. So to think that they're any less compassionate than anyone else is really disheartening to me. They go above and beyond every day to save the injured animals that come into our care. We have a shepherd named Victor that came in with 2 broken legs, the front and the back on the right side, on the same side. Anywhere else, that dog would have been euthanized, and it would have been justified because he was injured to a point that he was suffering. What did she do? She cast his legs and kept him in her office for months until he healed, and now he's on our adoption floor, ready to go home. Wow, so every day we go above and beyond, but also the county committed to be a no-kill shelter 2015 or 2013, something like that. And we've been a no-kill shelter for about 10 years in a row now. And that means that more than 90% or 90% of the animals that come into our shelter are saved. Right now, our save rate for dogs is 93%. So that means less than 7% of the dogs that come into our shelter are euthanized. And remember, they're coming in, they've been hit by a car, they've been living on the street, they're malnourished, they've been... right. So our goal is always not to have a dog suffer. And sometimes a dog suffering means they've been in a crate in our kennel for very long, very stressed. They're spinning around. You walk by, you see them. They're spinning. They're suffering. So that's also suffering. And that's another reason for euthanasia. But every day that I walk into the clinic, I say that is my favorite place to go because that is the heart of our shelter, is where we're saving the lives. We're doing everything we can. Aside from that, it's also, you have to think of the shelter as your urgent care, right? We stabilize the dog. Then we rely on our rescue community. Our rescue community is part of our organization. They help us take dogs that are severely injured, severely sick, that need more than we can offer, and they take them to a hospital and provide ongoing care and treatment, long-term care. So it's something that we rely on. It comes at a cost to us because that's when we put it out on social media and we get criticized. Oh, Animal Services, you're not doing enough. Yet we do it day after day because we know that's the way we're going to save an animal. So we really do thank the rescue community that works with us. We couldn't do this work without them.
Well, you said something about the dogs and everything. What about for all our cat lovers?
That's right.
What about all the people? Because I know a lot of people. I love cats. It depends on it. But, so what about in the cat situation is more or less the same?
So it's funny. When I started in 2019 in Animal Services, cats was a major problem. And that was what everybody was focused on. And what are we going to do with all these cats? Now it's flipped and dogs are not getting adopted as quickly. But the county has committed to a TNVR program, and that is trap, neuter, vaccinate, and return. That means those community cats that you see in your neighborhoods, they live there, right? They're colony cats. They live in a colony in their neighborhood. That's where they belong. But we will go out, trap them, bring them back to the shelter, sterilize them, vaccinate them, and that's how we control the population.
Yes, that's a good point. Yeah, I heard that they're doing that with the peacocks as well too, or no?
Well,
they're getting peacocks.
That's not us.
Yeah,
That's not us.
Not
That's
my area, but I don't know. I'll
No,
probably do a
we actually have.
they are doing it though.
Yeah.
Peacocks, but yes,
Yeah,
I've
they are
heard about
because
that. Yes.
They're just everywhere.
You walk around I live around the South Miami area. You see them walking around with 9 and 10 little babies all over. They're beautiful.
They're beautiful,
gorgeous.
yeah.
But unless they start, going out your car. Here's the thing it's a great, point you just said. And I was out on vacation and we were in some of the Greek islands, right? And I was in by Mykonos and all this area.
Cats everywhere.
So to that point, I was so fascinated because they had all over the place, all over that you're walking, the trays and water and trays of water. So then I went to a store and I asked the people, I go, what's up with the things? Oh no, the cats for us here are our saviors, sacred. So to your point, they take them, they neuter them and everything, but they have them because they control rodents.
Yeah.
Right.
They're like the police.
Yeah.
In the rodent world. I mean, and they're beautiful, so friendly. I mean, you're walking, they're all beautifully taken care of. They're laying around the street. I mean, people are taking pictures with the cats. Yeah. The owners have them they're all over the store.
Yeah.
I mean, high-end stores, you have them all laying down by little sofas and everybody. And the cat has his water and its food. And I said, wow, what a great...
It's a different relationship.
Yeah.
Yes, what a great way. How they envision the fact that they use them as their patrols.
Yeah, no, I was in Greece last summer too, and I saw that too.
Right.
I've actually been to several countries in Europe, and it's the cats are sacred in a lot of those places. And it's funny because in the opposite, like the dogs roam free too, and nobody bothers them. They just do their own thing. Some people feed them, some people
do. The
do.
water over there.
I don't know what it is.
I think it's also. I feel like cats are super resourceful. Like they can really
are.
survive and thrive. I have cats in my neighborhoods. When I see them, they are doing. For those,
go ahead.
For those critics and everybody out there that keyboard warriors and people who just sit on the other side of the screen and complain about everything and never do anything.
Right. That's
if they wanted to actually do something, how can they help? Yeah. I know you have a two-pronged approach to volunteering. I want to talk a little about that and how can people out there actually help the shelters and
if you want to criticize and you want to think that you can help, call and find out where can you help and make a difference.
The possibilities are endless.
That's great
to help.
Great to know.
Yes, you can volunteer, and volunteering can be coming to walk dogs, to cuddle with our cats, to clean their crates. It could mean that you are promoting our events online, share it with your social media. We also have a foster program. Our foster program could be as short term as you can commit to or as long term. We have fosters that will foster for 2 weeks because a dog's going on a transport, and before it goes to that transport to go to another state, it has to be in quarantine. So some fosters will just do that quarantine period for us. Others are medical fosters. Others are hospice fosters. We have dogs that just need care because we know they're at the end of their life, and there are fosters that are ready to do that. So there's all those type of fostering, and now we've introduced a one-day foster program. It's called a paw venture, where you pick up a dog in the morning, you get a little Adopt Me vest on that dog, we give you a backpack with treats and bowls, and you can take that dog out for the day. Go take a walk in Coconut Grove, come to Miracle Mile, and sit around. Go get a coffee at Starbucks, and he can get a pup cup. So there's so many things, and there's sleepovers. So your kids are asking for a dog. You say, okay, we're going to take it for a weekend. Let's see how it works out.
Yeah.
By Sunday, everyone will know who can commit.
Well, I mean, to that point too, I love the fact of how so many hospitals also are, working with the shelters to bring animals in for the
kids
and the elders, of people that are sick, and make them feel a little bit more comfortable. As you can see, so many people out there now, which I think some people have abused a little bit too with the whole anxiety situation. Oh, yeah. But just so they can take the dog somewhere. But it works. It works for me. I think it's a soothing situation. The animals. So all those programs are spectacular.
Right. There's many, and we're introducing a virtual fostering program soon, where you could pick a dog and then virtually you are their foster and help adopt it by promoting it, sending videos, posting pictures, and hopefully that'll get more of our dogs adopted.
So I think one of the more or less final questions is, for those that don't know, including myself and most people out there, a dog is in the shelter, X time goes by, it doesn't get adopted, it's not euthanized, there is a next level, or you guys actually continue taking care of the dog in your own way. What happens to a dog that does not get adopted and is not euthanized?
So we'll talk about our longest resident that was just adopted a couple of months ago, Lucky Charm.
Oh, no, I thought you were talking about Norman.
Norman just got adopted. He was there,
Norman would have made 2 years at our shelter this week. Thankfully, about 2 weeks ago, he got pulled by a rescue. So is he now with the rescue, or he got adopted from the rescue?
And the way that happened was he went out on a paw venture. So someone took him out on a paw venture. They fell in love with him. They took it upon themselves to promote. And then he went to Peggy Adams saw it. It's a rescue up north. They saw and they stepped up and decided to take care of Norman. But we have long stayers. They're there for a year. They're here for 2 years. And again, we go back to the suffering of a dog that is in a kennel every day for 2 years. They get out for a few minutes for a walk. Hopefully they get out once a day. We're hoping to get to twice a day, but the more dogs we have, the less likely the dogs are going to get out for long walks.
Yeah, but you had said that, is there like a program where they go to a sanctuary? Or
they go to so we have a transport program where we're lucky that we have partners in the Northeast that will accept dogs from us. So at the end of this month, we are sending 10 to 20 dogs to New Hampshire. The New Hampshire ASPCA, Massachusetts ASPCA, they will take dogs from us.
I'm a supporter. I donate right to SPCA.
Great. Yeah. And you can locate to your local shelter, too.
Yeah, let me tell you, for me,
Uncle Manny.
So for me, this has been a very, very, very informative, podcast today. I think a lot of people are really going to relate to this, because a lot of people really do not understand of half of the things with the animal shelters as we start the program. Before we go, any plans of other animal shelters in the county in the future, in the plans, or just
we need to increase the budget for animal shelters?
No, I mean,
what's the budget right now for the county?
It's a $39 million budget, which sounds like a lot, but it's 280 employees. So 60% of our budget goes to staff and
food,
personnel costs. Everything. Then the next highest driver is food and pet supplies, and then of course drugs. Because veterinarians. So let me give you some numbers on the number of sterilizations. This year, our fiscal year starts October 1st. This year will surpass 29,000 sterilizations for dogs and cats. It'll be about 20,000 cats being sterilized through the Department of Animal Services, and about 10,000 dogs will be sterilized through the Department of Animal Services. Many of those are just free to the community. So that costs money. So yeah, 39 million sounds like a lot of money, but if we want to do as much as we can to help people stay with their pets, it's going to cost a lot of money.
100%.
And you said something earlier, which I think I want you to express. What do you consider a success? Like, what is your KPI? And you say, listen, despite all the critics, I know we're doing a good job because of X.
When I can walk the shelter and see that every dog is receiving quality care, that would be reaching success in my book.
Okay. That's awesome. Well, listen, guys, I want to tell you, thank you so much for coming. And as I said, we'll see everybody. What date is it again that we're going to be?
September.
Let me hear from the end of the producers.
Wait, we have a question from the public.
Oh.
So that's very important. Like Annette mentioned, we do have a pet retention program because we try to, keep pets that are already owned with their owners. But I think somebody inquiring a new pet, whether they purchase from a puppy store or they adopt a pet, that is very important because responsible ownership, the umbrella covers a lot, but making sure your pet is healthy, I think, should be the priority. So vet care has gotten really, really expensive. And I think it is important for people to take that into consideration before they get a pet, one. But two, once they agree and decide to get it, to make sure that the pet is healthy by probably searching up plans and kind of like who you would get for car insurance, like compare quotes, like figure it out. Because like he just mentioned, vet care can get expensive if your dog just which has happened to
but for those people who don't know, How expensive can like a broken leg be? Because I told you earlier, I think I was talking to you. I have a Frenchie. Mm-hmm. Nothing's ever happened to him. Thank God. And everybody says that I'm super lucky. So everybody's so lucky ones. What is if I do not have pet insurance, right? Or I go to the veterinarian and something happened to my dog and broke a leg. What is the average cost someone will spend?
So I'll give you an example. My pets haven't broken any limbs, thankfully, but my cat recently had to go to the vet in May for what I believe is like pancreatitis. They couldn't actually figure it out, but she got really, really sick. And again, it's a cat, not even a dog. So I really, in my head, didn't think it was going to be that expensive, but it was a $2,500 bill.
No way.
Yes. And it's just for her to stay in the hospital for like 2 days. And try to figure out what she has. And I honestly, I don't want to say this, but I almost thought about it. At that point, she was an 8-year-old cat. So I was like, I don't even know if I should at this point. Right. Like, I want to make sure she's okay. But I also, that's a lot. And like, I have pet insurance for my dogs, but not for my cats because my cats are indoors. And I just never thought that something would happen to her. But now I'm considering adding it to the cats as well because it could be very expensive, and that's not even a broken limb. I don't even want to know
$3,000 for
how much a broken limb is.
Yeah.
Listen, in all reality, these are all great questions and the insurance and everything, but there's some poor people out there can't even afford insurance for their cars. So, yet they're going to afford insurance for their dog. The thing is that, when you're, again, goes back down to what I said at the beginning, responsibility. When you got to be a responsible person, know if you're going to go buy a dog, you know what I'm saying, that what the costs come with the dog. Sometimes you'll buy a dog that you don't know. Just, when you have your child, if they're going to be, allergic to this milk or to that milk, you have to go different. I can attest, I had a Frenchie, and my Frenchie cost me money. And at the same time, I didn't have insurance because really, I didn't feel that I needed the insurance. I spent over, I don't even tell you the amount of money I spent on that dog.
Yeah.
I mean, since it came out, I had a problem with the nose, with the throat, with everything. It comes down to...
But you had surgery for him?
He had all surgery, but,
But does pet insurance cover that?
There's some of them they do. They're very specific.
There's
in what
plans.
they cover.
So, again, it's like car insurance. Like, you can get the basic coverage, or you can get a little bit more, or you can get full coverage. So it just depends. And I also think people need to understand that when they're adopting or purchasing a certain breed, because there are breeds, especially purebreds, that they all each have their own issues. Like I mentioned, Frenchies, that you guys both have skin problems, allergies. They have the breathing problems. They have eye problems. So things like that, you just want to make sure that your dog may be prone to it. You're lucky.
I'm super lucky.
Your pet stays healthy. I hope your pet stays healthy.
I'm a lucky person overall, though, but I'll tell you that.
And I hope it stays healthy overall. But there are some dogs that, people purchase unresponsibly from somebody off the street or something like that you don't know what you're getting.
So just to sum up the top 3 things you can do to be a responsible pet owner is microchip your pet.
That's
Have your pet spay or neutered, and look into pet insurance because that could alleviate some of the financial burden in the future.
That makes sense, and it actually goes in line with the way people treat their dogs. Responsible pet ownership right now, you treat your dogs like a kid, So in this case, if you're looking for cat for your pet insurance for cat, a shameless plug is going to be you can call Puppy Mansion, and Puppy Mansion can give you a quote on pet insurance.
That is a super shameless plug. And with that, thank you guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for coming. I told you super affirmative. Count on us on whatever you need to promote whatever events you're going to do.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you guys.
Really nice. Very informative.
Thank you guys so much.